Hello, everybody. Live from a frosty day in Koreatown, it's the OZone. I'm your host, Omar Miller. I'm here with my brother, Terry Miller, also known as the Icons with a Z. How you feeling?
Of course, I feel great, Batman.
That's awesome because you are arthritis-free. If only I could say the same. If only I could say the same. Well, it's been raining a lot here, folks. I'm over it. I don't live in London or Seattle for a reason, and I'm hoping it'll warm up soon. Hit me up with any suggestions of where I should go to catch some sun. You can call our line anytime at, what's our number, guys? 310-254-424-254-254-9663. That's 424-254-9663. So, great day today. We have a special guest coming in. We have a 4-time Gold Glove winner, 6-time Major League Baseball All-Star, Kenny Lofton, coming in to talk shop, to talk about the current state of the union. He had some controversial statements that he made that we don't think are controversial at all because we happen to agree with them.
You know, I'm looking at his stats, and that last season that he played, if he had 28 plate appearances and he ended up batting .222, I think he would have been a career 300 hitter if he wouldn't have played got those last few at bats.
You sound like Dave right now. You know, it's funny. It's like he just never.
No. I'm just.
We talk to him about it when he comes in. Let's speak on it about him. And you know, and there's a lot of fight action going on. There's a lot of action that's happening with the zone. I can't front. The zone is trying to take over.
They have, pretty much.
They're taking over, and let's get right to it. So this weekend, the zone has Bivol. Bivol's fighting. He moves straight from HBO over, but the big news is that, former unified champion, middleweight champion Gennady Golovkin, a.k.a. Triple G, has moved to the zone. And I don't know about the deal. Seems like he's getting paid because the zone pays people.
They got a 6-fight deal?
6 fights, 3 years. Every fight is a guaranteed 8 figures.
It's good money.
That's good money. That's a long time.
Yeah, I think that they're going to – I wonder, all that money guaranteed?
All of that money is guaranteed.
Now, they're trying to bring Klitschko out as well.
They're trying to bring –
because those guys have universal appeal.
They sure do. They can launch an app.
Yes. And so what I think that their theory is, because you can tell by their model that they're trying to get global superstars. It's not a guy just
not regional
States or anything like that, because what Floyd always had done was sell it as an A side, B side, whereas he would fight a Pacquiao who would bring a whole country to watch his fights, or he would fight a Canelo who brings a country to watch his fights. I think
a whole Latin nation, not even just a country.
Yes. And so then in that it always
Conor McGregor, same thing.
Yeah, it always looked like Floyd was bringing, the audience, and I think that it was more so the people he was fighting against was bringing the audience. Of course, you want to see Floyd, and a lot of times people want to see Floyd lose that they were watching, but it was more so them going for a global appeal, and I think Floyd had hit it on the head with that. Because
I think what you're trying to say is that you have to give the guy credit, because what he did is he pioneered a system where he may have sold it as though he was the only one selling the tickets, but he chose opponents who had their own sets of fans, who then in turn boosted all those numbers.
Exactly.
And the numbers are undeniable. And he did the numbers, and he did them with a lot of dancing partners who have built their own fan base. Mm-hmm. More so, people say who have a fan base that want to see them win, whereas Floyd's fan base was always mixed. The people who did want to see him win, the Money Team Nation is really big, and yet also a ton of those people would tune in and are willing to pay in hopes of seeing him lose, which is why Las Vegas was always so willing to court him to be on. I feel like we must have heard, people must hear that we're talking about boxing is in the air, because our boxing reporter wants to call in.
Reporting.
What's up, Ellie?
I'm here at Goose and Jim watching some sparring, but we're good.
So tell me something, man. We got big fights this weekend. My man, Sean Showtime Porter, one of my favorites in the game, a great all-around guy. I love the fact that he trains with his dad. I love the Porter way and how they are. Almost lost his title on the scale yesterday. What in the world's going on? What are you hearing? What's the word on the curb?
Word on the curve is that sometimes, many times, fighters take a bath to sweat, and they put some salt in there, and it helps them make weight. And what I heard was the water at the hotel wasn't hot enough, so they had to go to another place, do that like a sauna thing, and then he made weight. And they cut his braids, but it's more embarrassing than anything.
It doesn't look professional.
Correct, but he made the weight, and he does have his title, but it just looks bad because people say, "Oh, you're professional, you're supposed to make it." So he made the weight in the end, but for those 2 hours and when he didn't make weight, it was the big story of the day, which nobody wants that kind of attention. But he's a great kid. His dad's a great trainer, and we'll see tonight. It's no easy task.
It's no easy task. I like Ugas, to be honest. He's got big pop. I don't necessarily think that he's ready to face the intensity of Sean, but if there's a way to beat Sean Porter, in my opinion, it's the way that Kell Brook beat Sean Porter, which is to keep him at bay and his relentless pressure at bay with the jab.
And tying him up.
And making the fight ugly, which Sean is willing to do because his fight is ugly just because he's so intense and so inside.
I think he might have the most stamina out of any boxer in boxing.
I agree. His motor never stops.
That is true. He keeps coming. He's in your face. There's no wiggle room. There's no room to squeeze in a sardine in there when he's like against the rope. He's just on you. He's glued on you. So it's true. But again, now let's go back to the weight thing. If he struggled to make weight, which we don't know, let's say it was a little tough. Did it take out of him too much for tonight?
Now, I agree. And one thing that I spoke to a friend of mine about, he brought up a great point, actually, a Carson native, which is, you know what? If it was a normal Los Angeles night or a Vegas night that was hot, I think that'd be a bigger factor.
Right.
And the fact that it's cool out in L.A. today actually is going to help him on the rehydration status for the day leading up to. But there's always that factor. Being, dry and sucked out is never necessarily good for the day of the fight. Correct.
So we'll see tonight. That's an interesting one. And then a week from tonight is another very big fight, which the odds started out Mikey Garcia, Errol Spence 8-1, which I thought was kind of close because the way they were talking about Mikey in the beginning. Now the odds are down to 3-1. And when I go to different gyms, like here today, Houston Gym, when people were betting over the fight just amongst themselves, they're betting 50-50. Like, there's no odds, like just straight up.
Unreal. That's unreal to me. Really? And I love Mikey. Mikey is in the top 5 of my pound-for-pound list.
Yes.
And I just don't see how Mikey beats Errol Spence, who will probably come in on fight night close to 165 or 170. I just don't see how he can. I don't see how he can mitigate that size difference. His skill, I will say, is superior to Earl's. Because Mikey's boxing skills are he's at the top of the heap.
Uh-huh.
But he's not faster than him. He's not stronger than him. I don't see where the advantage is, and he's not bigger than him.
Yeah, and his IQ is maybe a little bit higher.
His IQ is higher than I would say. His fight IQ is higher than Earl's.
Yeah, if it was a video game, you would say like one was 92 and one was 90 or something like that.
Right.
Not that much of a difference.
Right.
So
that's a big fight coming in Texas.
It is a big fight. In Texas, both of them are on the pound-for-pound list. We haven't had this since Canelo Triple G, probably, where two guys pound-for-pound fighting each other. It's usually like mismatches or just guys that, okay, we'll give this guy a chance, but he doesn't have a chance. It's a very close fight. Yes, Spence is bigger, Spence is stronger, but you have to look at Mikey, 39-0, 4-division champion. When he was off for 2 years from not fighting with Top Rank, he was a 130-pounder, and he was off. Exactly. And he sparred Chino Maidana, and you were there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for that sparring session, or that during that period. And Mikey cracked Chino's rib, almost broke his rib. For the rest of the camp, no one was allowed to touch Chino Maidana.
Yep, that's why Chino was training to fight Floyd, and I went out there to Oxnard.
Yep, exactly. So Mikey has insane power. People, he's not cut up. Mexican fighters in general don't look like bodybuilders. He's never going to look like Tim Bradley.
Right.
So people looking at Mikey.
Or does he need to?
Yeah.
No, not for boxing. But he was sparring. I was in camp with him almost every day for his camp, and he's sparring guys 180, 190, 175. And he was holding his own, and they're all undefeated. And I just added up before you guys called me right now. His sparring partners are like 86-0 with 70 knockouts combined. And he was doing really good. And one of them, Mikey landed a vicious body shot. And they all told me he hits hard. Again, Spence is not a sparring partner. He's a star. He's a champion. He's the most avoided guy in boxing in my book.
Me too.
Because nobody wants.
Me too.
This is what Spence told me. He said, Ellie, they only want to fight me once I have a fight. But when I don't have a fight, it's cricket. Nobody's calling me. I have a fight. They all want
truth. It sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting fight. Now, Mikey's dad, I talked to him last night. He told me, Ellie, this is not fight of the year. It's fight of the century. So they're going in there with the mentality, we're going to win. We're focused. Spence has the same thing. again, it's going to come down to
Pulled off this upset. This would be the biggest upset that I can think of in a long time.
Long time.
Like a really, really long time.
Since the 42 and what a 42-1 Buster Douglas Tyson, because Mikey's a 135 pounder that when they announced the fight, everybody thought it was a parody. Everybody thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? Is he suicidal? Like, really, come on. Like, it makes no sense for you to fight this guy that nobody wants to fight. But Mikey he told me, look, I get really bored. I need a challenge. I need something. And it worked because this camp, I've never seen him so focused. I've never seen him so determined. He says, this is the fight I want to win more than any other fight.
Well, we got that, and we also have the idea that unfortunately, because of his contract disputes with Top Rank over the years, the guys that I think that he should fight and that he would beat, actually, he doesn't have a chance to fight. I think he beats Loma at 135.
Yeah, I think he stops him.
I think he stops Loma at 135, and I think that he beats Terrence Crawford at 147 or 140. I don't think Earl is the right guy.
Yeah,
and I've never felt like that. And I can't tell you, I love Mikey. I love Robert.
I love to watch him fight.
I love to watch Mikey fight. Just he's such a class act.
Yeah,
it's really
fundamental. And I'm going to add to that Spence and his coach Derek James are great people. They'll never say anything bad about anybody. Just straightforward, really good individuals. So this is the way I look at it. It's a no lose for Mikey. If he wins, he's the king of the world. He's the king of boxing. Let's say he doesn't. It's okay. He jumped up two weight guys to fight the baddest guys that nobody wants to fight. So it's really he doesn't lose in any way.
He can't lose.
And
this is going to be a big fight.
I expect this fight to win, and I'm sure Spence wants to win and coming to win. So we'll see how it goes. Now, the big news yesterday that just broke, Deontay Wilder is going to meet this week with Eddie Hearn.
I saw that. They're bumping up those numbers.
Yeah.
And now here's my thing. Once again, we see the power of no. Deontay Wilder said no to the offer that they sent, and all of a sudden they need a face-to-face meeting for a much bigger dollar amount.
Right.
And the Zone is paying people. They just signed Triple G, our favorite over here at the OZone. And even though I think 6 fights over 3 years is a bit much, that means he's going to be fighting into right to when he's touching 40. He's had some time off to recover from that last fight and those last 2 fights, which were really rough. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Zone can do because they're making noise, man.
They're putting so much money out there. I mean, I'm so happy for the fighters. Brandon Rios made great money his last fight. Tevin Farmer's making great money. Triple G's making great money.
Yep.
They're all getting paid, and this is a sport where you got to make as much as you can because you're taking punishment. So I'm very happy for the fighters.
Last.
Without a
absolutely
union.
With
correct.
No union and no
union. You're right. Absolutely. So I'm excited to see what they could do with this. This does mean that if it does go down, maybe we see if Joshua passes Big Baby, which is a test too. It's a 50-50 fight. But if he passes
it, fight,
it's a 50-50 fight. I'm going to break it down.
Don't lie to yourself.
I'm going to break it down.
Check it
out. I'm going to break it down. Let's look at Big Baby Miller. Before boxing, he was a kickboxing champion. That's how I met him. He was fighting in K1. If a kick is not going to knock you out, how the hell is a punch going to knock you out?
You should know. You ask Conor McGregor. Ask all of these MMA dudes who want to come in the ring. Ask your man Diaz.
And there's an acclamation of punches. And he's a big guy.
Okay.
He can't knock big guys out.
Okay, that's true. Now, Big Baby gets in your head. You saw how he pushed Joshua. He rattles you. If he's going to make it an ugly fight, a rough fight, he has a good chance. Joshua hasn't looked good since the Klitschko fight. I like him. He's a great fighter, great person. But he hasn't shined. His fights, he fought the French guy, Takam, didn't look too good.
Takam
came back.
Problem.
Takam headbutted his
nose. Yeah, headbutted him, and he made the fight dirty.
And the last fight, he looked really bad. He almost got stopped in the early rounds.
What fight?
Anthony Joshua?
No, no.
Which fight are you talking about?
Anthony Joshua wasn't on the verge of getting stopped. He fought against the guy that's a juicer.
Yeah, he fought Povetkin. But Povetkin landed a shot.
Povetkin hurt him, but he didn't.
I'll find a quote from Eddie Hearn where Eddie Hearn says, I almost pooped my pants watching that. I was so scared.
Wow.
I thought he got hit early, pretty nasty. But he won the fight, no question. But he hasn't looked spectacular. Is that fair to say?
No, he hasn't looked spectacular, but he's done what he needs to do to win.
And he's been fighting fighters that make you look bad.
The Joseph Parker fight that he fought is a fight that is to win. That fight is not the fight where you take a bunch of risks and do the thing.
That was a technical fight.
No, Parker's a champion, so absolutely not. He's fighting a good dude and a talented dude. But again, success the level of competition, it's in New York. Let's see. I think it's a closer fight than what people think, but
I think
we'll see.
Yeah, I think he's going to stop Big Baby probably in like the 7th round or something.
I just have a problem with Big Baby not having the pop that I want him to have at that weight.
Yeah.
I want a guy I want every heavyweight to be able to knock guys out with one punch,
quitter.
but let alone an accumulation of punches. And I've seen him get hit a lot, and I don't feel like him getting hit by somebody like Anthony Joshua is going to work out right. But we'll see. Now, it seems like if we were going to go with the mental edge, I would say that it's thrown up in the air as to whether or not Anthony Joshua can process the negative energy of Big Baby getting in his head to actually make that translate on fight night, or if he's going to be out of his game. So that's a fair point. Now, who do you like tonight in Bivol versus Smith?
Bivol, I like him a lot. I mean, Smith's a great kid, great story, construction worker, becomes boxing star. Beating up Bernard Hopkins at 52 is okay because, he knocked him out of the ring. But Bivol is the real deal. Bivol is a monster. People don't know. He's the biggest secret in boxing.
He's a monster.
And he's going to go other than Usyk, correct.
Even though Usyk isn't really a secret as a unified champ, the only in the world, if I'm correct. But at the same time, people don't really know, your standard fans don't really know about Usyk like that. But yeah, Bivol's a problem.
You are correct on both of those statements. I agree. Usyk is the only unified champ on the men's side. You have Breakhouse on the female side. She has all the belts. But Usyk is getting up there, but I'm thinking Bivol, he just signed with Eddie and DAZN as well. And he wants to go down to 68 and fight Canelo and fight Triple G and fight. He's going to give a lot of people problems.
It seems like it was a blessing. It hurt a lot when HBO went off the air, but it seems like it's a blessing in a sense.
Right?
Because the way that DAZN is coming in and capitalizing and the way that everybody's actually, it's like a scurry to get somewhere, to get a home, and then it's sort of taking that stable effect away from it a little bit.
A little bit. Because now the stables that are there are so strong. I would say the weakest stable is Top Rank, followed by PBC, followed by DAZN at this point, as far as fighters you want to watch. PBC has everybody that you want to watch in the 47 in the little man boxing world. And except for DAZN has everybody. They got Canelo, they got Triple G, they got Joshua. That looks like they're gonna get Wilder.
Stacked.
They're stacked.
But here's what happened when HBO fell apart. So Max Kellerman goes, for example, ESPN. HBO film crews go to DAZN. I've seen them work behind the scenes. The same faces, the same guys that were doing like the All Access. They're doing it for DAZN. So it made fighters more money because HBO were kind of like mailing it in for the last 3 years. They didn't put out.
It seemed like they must have known internally that they were ready to get out of the game.
Correct. And Bob Arum actually called it, and people said he's full of it, but he was right. He said HBO going to get out of boxing. So it's one door closes, another opens. And look how much I'm happy for fighters to make insane amounts of money. I wish UFC fighters will make the money the boxers are making.
Right.
So that's a good aspect. Now, DAZN, they're learning on the job. They're trying. And I'm sure with time they'll get better and better at what they're doing. They need a better broadcast crew. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree because it's not polished, really. It's not cutting edge. There's not a lot of entertainment value in it right now.
But it will be. It's like I said, they have to just start from somewhere. We have to have a starting point. Triple G Canelo 3. I don't know if that's the fight. Maybe it's Triple G Bivol. Maybe it's Triple G Boo Boo Demetrius Andrade.
Maybe it's Triple G Jacobs. They got Danny Jacobs too.
Yeah.
They got DAZN has done the right thing for the boxing fans.
Yes. And the boxers, it looks like.
And the boxers, surprisingly. And the only thing that I could ask more from DAZN is if they set up a union.
Yeah.
And that's asking a lot on top of actually paying everybody.
And they're doing everything right. So they might
do everything right.
They're bringing in baseball now. They're bringing in other sports. They have MMA with Bellator, so it's possible. This is what I will say. It's great that fighters have options. It's a fighter's market. It's not a monopoly or UFC is like pretty much UFC then Bellator, and then you're pretty much smaller promotions. But in boxing now you have 3 or 4 major promotions where you could get paid,
and which is a big deal. Because it wasn't always that way. And you're talking about, just like you said, we're talking about everybody from Gabe Rosado and Tevin Farmer to Anthony Joshua all getting paid. And this is what we need as fans. I don't want to see a guy get his head beat in and then actually see him at the gym that I go work out at and he's not functioning. He's not functioning, not only he took the chance of functioning or not by just getting in the ring. But not only is he not functioning, he has no money or no way to take care of himself.
Absolutely correct. They have no money for food, no money for electricity.
And people don't understand how dire it is. And our special guest for the day just came in. What's up, baby? MLB All-Star Gold Glove winner Kenny Lofton is here. And unlike the boxers, we're talking about boxing and how this new situation has actually helped fans. I don't know if you're a boxing fan or not.
I am.
But it's really this situation with OZone and trying to eliminate pay-per-view seems to have really helped the fans because they have a lot of big names and they're all going to fight each other.
And they're all getting paid.
And they all get paid. And we only pay $10 a month as opposed to, like, for example, when I was training down in Miami, the gym that I was training at, man, guys were coming in there. They got no union. So afterwards, they are busted up, and they're out there looking bad. And I don't think people recognize that you can see a champ. I'm talking about the champ, the guy that you love, might be in a gym somewhere literally throwing air punches, shadow boxing, looking like a shell of himself, and can't go get,
nothing to eat.
Can't go get nothing to eat.
That's true. But really quick, what are the advantages, for example, of having a union in baseball? What does a union do for players?
Are you crazy? What, I don't care if we're talking about baseball. I don't care if we're talking about acting or whatever. The union provides health care. I pay a fee every year, a percentage of my income, which is actually a small percentage relative to the idea that they had to pay for my knee surgery. And I always have health care if I need it. I have somebody who actually looks out for me as far as negotiations go, work conditions, the whole nine. This is why actors are pampered, if you will, because there's a union which says, actually, after a certain amount of time, you have to break for lunch, and after a certain amount of time, you have to sit and if you work all night, you need a turnaround of a certain amount of time instead of having to call you back early in the morning because guys are getting in car accidents and they're actually working themselves to death.
It's true.
The thing about it is, this is Kenny, with the union in baseball, it protects your rights. A lot of things that's being protected that is not being looked at on the owner's side of it, the players protect you on your side of it. Like you said, especially for healthcare and certain things that for players need, especially when they're done.
Yes.
When you're done, you have pretty much no rights of nothing, but the union protects you, and the union goes in to these collective bargaining agreements to try to protect retired players big time.
And on top of that, Ellie, this is Ellie Seckback. He's a very great boxing reporter online. He used to cover basketball. Now he's all boxing all the time. More than 500 million views on YouTube, the whole song and dance. Yeah, Ellie does his thing, and that's why we're talking boxing with him. But I want to say the last thing that it does as well, whether it's acting, baseball, or if you are an electrician on a set, what it does is it sets up a pension. So I'm putting money in a pension that literally Mike Tyson doesn't have.
Right.
Which is absurd. That money should be taken out of the purse and it should be put away in a collective, not just for Mike, in a collective. These guys are making big money and they need to protect the little guy. Now you need to, just like in any other union, you would need to vet it with a certain amount of time as far as saying, hey, you needed to be in the league for this long,
But that's what happened in baseball is that no matter how much money you make, if you have 10 years in the big leagues, you get a full pension.
Come on, man.
No matter how much money you make.
That's awesome.
And the thing about it is the least amount of years you have, you still get a certain part of your pension, but you just doesn't get the top.
Yeah, 10 years get you
10
full.
years get you full.
Straight.
I don't care if you're making $30 million a year.
Or if you're making $300,000.
$300,000. If you got your 10 years in, when you're done, you get the same amount of money as everyone gets. It's all in a kitty and it's divided up.
As it should be.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter who you were. You can be Ken Griffey Jr. or you can have a guy who was just a
journeyman.
A journeyman, a utility player that got 10 years.
You could be Mike Pagliarulo.
Yeah.
When he gets done, he gets the same amount of money that Griffey gets for his pension.
That's amazing. So that means even if they blow all the money on nonsense, cars, jewelry, whatever, they'll still have money coming the rest of their life. They won't be homeless.
There's a basic,
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Yeah, but when you're talking about boxers, man, they literally get their brains punched in.
Yes.
It's true.
And if
Which
they're
is conducive to making bad decisions.
Exactly. And you can't expect anybody really to have a 10-year lifespan in boxing. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's like an NFL 10-year. The only person that's playing 10 years in the NFL is the quarterback because he's protected.
Right.
No, the kicker.
And the kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, Ellie. We appreciate you calling in. You're always welcome on the OZone. Tell the people where they can find you.
Just search anywhere ES News and you'll find me. Thank you so much.
All right, man. We'll hit you up after the fight.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon. Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, my man showed up. We got a lot to unpack here because I haven't seen you since the last, I would say, Lupus Charity poker tournament. Yes. I've known Kenny Lofton for years now, folks. I call him a friend, and we see eye to eye on a lot of things. Little did we know that we saw eye to eye on something that's very important to the game that we've talked about on this podcast several times, especially in the heat of baseball season, every Sunday night and going into the playoffs. How you feeling, Kenny?
I'm good. I can't complain. I'm just been working a lot. I can say for me, working with my my film production company, and that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
Nice. You look like you're in great shape.
Yeah, you sure
Still.
do.
I try to go out there and try to eat right, and I still have my ice cream once in a while, but I go out there and hit the gym, and because it's part of my DNA. I tell people that's just who I am, and I worked out a lot when I was playing, and I still work out. It's just part of me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's a great, and along with, we'll get to, what we were talking about, but along with it being good for your health, it's also good as an inspiration to younger people. So younger people can look to you as a former big leaguer and say, wow, Kenny was the man when he was in the show, but look at him. Man, I just saw Kenny. Right? Kenny might be able to give me 15, 20 sacks this year. I believe, and that's a big thing. And, we're super duper baseball fans. My brother Terry got drafted by the Dodgers. I played until I got busted up and then stumbled into the theater and started doing acting. I have to say, I don't think there's something that I love more than the game of Major League Baseball. And it hurts my feelings the way that they keep trying to tweak and ruin the game, in my opinion, in certain ways. I see you at the games all the time.
I think did we see you at the World Series?
Yeah, I was there.
Yep.
I try to go there, and just a friend of mine usually have tickets, and I usually don't. Again, if someone invites me, I'll go.
Roll.
But again, I've been there, done that, so I don't.
The highest level.
Yeah. So for me to say I have to go, no, I don't feel that way. But if somebody will say because they want to go and just get my knowledge to the game, and it's fun because I'm sitting there, they say you don't mind us talking to you about the game. I'm like, no, I don't mind. I'm here, and you guys invited me, so I would love to talk about the game because some of the insights of the game that people sometimes don't know, or sometimes people that want to talk about it, I'm always open to talk about the game of baseball.
I love that. Well, that's what we're here for, and that's what we're here to talk about. I go ahead. You sound like you want to get in. Get in. Get yourself.
I was just looking at the Baseball Reference now. Oh. Now they have his war next to your name. Do you believe in the war?
For me, I do believe in it, but I feel like why all of a sudden it comes out now. It should have came out before when I had an opportunity to have my name on the ballot list, to stay on the ballot list. If that war would have been next to my name, I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe
you would have had more support.
I would have more support because, again, that war number, I feel like the war, people understand what war is basically, runs against replacements. Mm-hmm. And I feel like offense and defense is what makes your war go up. I had both. Some people only had one, but I feel like I had both. I put runs on the board, and I also
save runs.
Exactly. So that's how you get that mixture of that war. And if they'd have looked at me overall, I think it would have been different because everyone looks at certain people offensively, or they look at people defensively.
Very rarely you look
not
at
like
all
a
five
complete player,
tools.
right?
Very rarely.
That's the problem, is that the Hall of Fame of how they look at it, they pick and choose whenever they want to. And that's the sad part about it.
Well, I bring up another point, which is if you played in today's game, which is what people are judging by. Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?
I'm here to tell you, I personally watched a lot of your work. I mean, a lot of your work.
Loved your game.
I loved your game. I can remember you leading off that All-Star game with a bomb off of Dale Nomo. Big bomb.
Unhittable at that
time.
Who
was completely lights out at the time, ladies and gentlemen. Was it 95?
97 was it Colorado?
Texas.
I can't tell you.
I can remember.
All-Star.
Yeah.
If you must say it.
No, that was in Texas. I remember it.
Yeah.
And I remember a big bomb to lead it off. I was like, are you kidding me? leadoff bomb to the All-Star game, but that's not even just it. We're talking World Series. I'm talking about top to bottom. I watch guys now who are willing to not make contact in order to try to hit a bomb. And you're talking about it's acceptable for guys to strike out 150 to 200 times a year.
Well, it's funny how you said that because they looked at the All-Star game last year was the awesome All-Star because they had 10 home runs.
Can you believe this?
But wait, you had 25 strikeouts.
25 strikeouts.
How can you say that's exciting in this game? But again, now you see where this game is going.
Right.
Yes.
They're looking at these 10 home runs, but you didn't look at the 25 strikeouts.
You dismissed those strikeouts. And this is
25
why I'm saying
non-productive outs.
Non-productive outs. And this is why I'm saying this is why I am not a fan of WAR. Because what WAR doesn't, and I'm not exactly sure how wins above replacements work, I have to be honest, but from what I've seen as per the WAR numbers for guys that I watch the game, WAR doesn't seem to take into account, you know what, he actually just put the ball in play, which moved the runner, which then in turn got a next guy an RBI. If you don't know the game of baseball, it's hard for you to appreciate anything besides the glittery object. And today we live in a society that's all about instant gratification, the phones, the this, the that. I don't know if society is actually primed to even understand a cerebral game like baseball, a skill-based game that if you are actually athletic and skilled, you can have a remarkable success. And it's rare. And I'm watching the situation now. We can get to what we were talking about. I'm watching the situation where I'm looking at this thing with Alex Rodriguez, and it breaks my heart. So Kenny had some statements on a podcast recently that sound like you listened to our podcast, which I know you didn't necessarily have to, because I feel like a lot of guys feel like this. I've had a lot of major league players, current major league players, hit me in my DMs and on my cell phone to just, when they hear it, and say, yeah, man, we ain't going to say nothing, but we're all the way with you. This guy made $500 million off the game of baseball. He was juicing, as far as we know, from the word go. From when he was playing with Ken Griffey at 22 years old and 21 years old.
This guy is.
So this guy is Alex Rodriguez, who is now employed by ESPN and Fox as an analyst. I'm the last one that's a hater, folks. But in this scenario, I got to call a spade a spade. I have a problem with, just like I have a problem with the current administration, with cheating being rewarded with prosperity. I feel like that's what happens when you sweep under the rug and hire an Alex Rodriguez. The benefit that he got was his money.
Right.
Don't make me sit and listen to you talk about the game, which I don't even know if legitimately you could play at the highest level without the aid.
Help.
Yeah, that's my take on it. Now, I read your statement, and it led me to literally pick up the phone and be like, "Oh man, we gotta get you on the cast. I need you on ASAP." I just wanted to record our phone conversation, let alone make it official.
It just sends the wrong message to the kids.
It really does.
It's telling the kids, "Hey, if you cheat, you can get away with it. We reward it, and it's okay." Really.
And by the way, throw about 150 people under the bus while you're doing it.
Right.
Because I still don't know if there was an official apology to all of those people, the journalists' lives that he ruined, all of the people who actually were doing their job and getting this information. What's your take, brother? Sorry, we jumped on. We get fired up about this one.
No, again, I just felt like when the question was asked to me and how it started off, I was there in New York talking about the movie I was putting in the theaters in Brooklyn at the time, and I had 2 days I was going to be in Brooklyn with the movie for just 2 shows, and he asked me, he said, we're sorry you're not in the Hall of Fame and whatever, but how do you feel about guys, who were potential steroid guys, that they probably will get in the Hall of Fame, and he said guys like A-Rod, and that's what kind of opened up the gate, for that. And for me, I just felt like, like I said, a spade is a spade, and I'm the guy who's always open and free, and I think some people just don't like my honesty, but I've always been that way. And I didn't come out and bring out the question. They asked the question. And when you talk about me in the Hall of Fame and how I was left off the list. And again, I feel like if I would have got on that potential list a year before, it'd probably been a little different.
Right.
So I just felt like I had people in my way at that time with the Hall of Fame because of guys who were potential steroid people, and I was never one of those guys, but I was caught up in that
era,
in that circle, and especially during that 2013, for me to have an opportunity to get on the Hall of Fame list. So I was on that list, but each reporter has 10. Again, they have 10 votes,
Right.
and I felt like 6, 7 of them were taken away for potential guys who own the steroids. So they only had 3 spots left.
Right.
So when you got 3 spots left, now you're trying to keep guys who's been on there already to try to get them over the top. So
And just keep them alive, basically. Keep them on the ballot.
So you had 3 people to keep alive. You had at least 6 or 7 to try to keep them alive because you're not sure they use steroids, or you think they use steroids, or you don't know.
Or you're willing to look past and you just love them as a writer.
Exactly. So, and that's what kind of got guys like myself and other guys
Rubbed the wrong way.
It got kind of us pushed off the list.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, or do you feel that the writer should have that kind of power?
No. I really don't, because again, some writers don't like you. It's just like back in the day where people didn't like Eddie Murray.
Yes.
You know, but Eddie Murray put up some crazy numbers. So for you, but then they try to say, you know, well, Eddie Murray didn't talk to the media. It ain't about
what does that have to do with the numbers?
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem you have with the media, because if they don't like you, they cannot put you on the list. But then they say, well, how can Ken Griffey Jr. not get unanimous?
Come on, man.
1,000%. Nobody can say he doesn't deserve a Hall of Fame.
Nobody can say
absurd.
that.
So, but again, it happened. But then the next year or the year after, whatever, Mariano
became the first person.
It should have been Griffey.
No question.
But it wasn't, and I'm trying to figure out why. So then, and also, you also have a guy where, at the time where Biggio got on the Hall of Fame or whatever, but one of the reporters said, I didn't want him to be a first-timer, his first time on the ballot. So since you didn't want him to be a first-timer, I mean, that I'm just saying, however you want to look at it, but your excuse is you don't want him to be a first-timer. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Do you have to have some kind of guidelines or structure to your voting mechanism? It can't be about my attitude or how I feel about you, because we know why they're doing it to Barry Bonds. His numbers are what they are. But then I have a problem also now when I look back at it, since baseball opening up a can of worms with betting, what are you going to do with Pete Rose?
Come on, man. Are you kidding me?
You know what I'm saying?
There's nobody who's ever watched a game that thinks that Charlie Hustle shouldn't be in the Hall if we're just talking about the numbers.
If you're talking about numbers, again, like I said in my,
and the Hall's
my
supposed
post
to be
about numbers, but like I said, I'm not saying what Pete Rose did was right.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
but-
That's not what we're trying to say.
So that's what I was saying. So that's what you're right. We're both in that same category. That's not what we're saying, but you got to figure out how you guys are presenting this case.
Yes.
That's it. Then there needs to be a governing body to the body that votes. That's the thing. There's no checks and balances.
I like to take the writers out of it, because like Kenny was saying, that the writers have too much personal stuff going on. If you didn't talk to the guy after the game, maybe I lost it. Maybe I'm not feeling good.
Maybe I'm not feeling good.
Maybe I don't feel like
Maybe I'm on a crappy team and I'm putting up dumb numbers.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like talking to you guys every day.
I think the Veterans Committee, how they have it, there should be those guys should be the ones on the Hall of Fame in the beginning.
Yes.
So now you have to wait 10 more years or whatever. After you get off the ballot, you get 10 more years, you have to wait.
And then look at the people on the ballot through that prism.
So, and those are the people who's played the game, understand the game.
Exactly.
So guys like you would have been voted on under that system. A guy like you would be voted on by Frank Robinson and Willie Mays.
Exactly.
And you know, guys who literally played the game at the highest level are veterans in the Hall, as well as veterans of the show.
You got Ozzie Smith. You got Paul Molitor, guys like
Mike
that.
Schmidt.
Mike, guys have opportunity to know how it is to play the game and know when they say at the time when you try to get voted into the Hall of Fame, you're being looked at as in your era.
Sure would, and that would be a great way to continue to update, because the game that you played in the 90s is different than the game that
they're playing now.
That Frank Robinson played.
Yes.
That Jackie Robinson played.
Uh-huh.
But if if that 7 to 10 year window was constantly being, upgraded as far as the vote, you're close enough to watch and be familiar with the game to be like, no, let me tell you something. I played with that dude. You couldn't stop him. He was,
It's almost like the time that I played when I came up, stolen bases wise. I talked to Vince Coleman all the time, and he said, Kenny, if you would have played in the era that I played in, stolen bases, because you got on base all the time, he said you could have got close to 200 stolen bases.
For real.
Because he said, because when I came up, they started the slide step. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the slide step when Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman were stealing all those bases.
Willie McGee, all them dudes.
There was no slide step. Mm-hmm. So starting in the 90s, when I came up, it became a slide step.
Interesting.
And then the slice, and I still end up getting my highest total was 75. And that's the most since the 90s. No one has gotten 75 stolen bases.
Hard to steal bags.
Yeah.
This is where technology, in my opinion, this is where technology and science have actually benefited the game, because what they've done via the slide step, via working with catchers on getting the ball out, and in the whole, and honestly, with guys throwing harder, there's less time to steal a bag.
So, and that's why, and Vince called me, he said, man, you would have just been crazy. But now, I said, Vince, you think you would have stolen as many bases? He said, probably not, because of the slide step. He said it was easy, but he had to get on base.
But I'm going to tell you something else. I think Vince Coleman would still have stolen bases. He may not have stolen like the numbers that they were stealing, but I don't think it would have anything to do with the slide step, to be honest. To me, teams don't even employ the stolen base as a weapon now. They don't even try to steal bags anymore. A guy would rather take a chance instead of sacrifice bunting or instead of taking the risk of stealing a bag. A team would rather have a guy go for a 2-run bomb.
Yeah.
And they used to do that in the National League, and now the National League does it.
That's it.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
But the game is all about, once they started that thing back in the day, chicks dig the long ball. That's when Sammy and McGuire, potential guys juicing at that time. They went from guys at a certain age where when you get in your late mid-30s or whatever, you on your way down, and we all know that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the game goes. So when you get there, you're going to either level out and slowly some people take a bigger step going downward, or some people will stay consistent longer and take a small step as they get older. But we had guys in the game at that time, mid-30s or upper mid-30s, starting to do extraordinary. They've never even done it in their prime or in their peak. Then all of a sudden they peaking
at 38.
Yeah, that didn't sit right with me, because knowing how tough it is in the game, and as you get older, your body say, dude, come on, man, we getting a little old. You gotta take your time. You gotta pace yourself.
Be easy on that. Yeah.
But from that time, I knew something wasn't right when you start to do extraordinary things at an older age. That it just don't add up.
It doesn't. And one of the biggest things is, like, even when for me it was like Barry Bonds. I think that what he started doing, it caught up with him too fast, because he was averaging probably like 39 home runs, something like that. Then all of a sudden you get on the juice, and now you're hitting 70 some home runs. And I don't think that he really thought about it, or it caught up to him pretty soon. He was thinking to himself, like, wow, I'm hitting 70 bombs. I'm about to break the home run record. I'm supposed to be retiring. I'm literally supposed to be retiring, and now I'm even better than what I was when I was a kid.
It's the same thing with Roger Clemens. When he was with Boston, he was throwing 86 to 87. Mm-hmm. So Boston, pretty much they said, his time, we got
he went up to Toronto.
Then he went up to Toronto, and then all of a sudden, we faced him. I'm like, he's throwing 97. I'm like, wait a minute.
Gas.
Where did this come from?
First pitch, I'm like, boom. I'm like, I stepped back out of the box and looked at Omar Vizquel. He looked at me like,
yeah, it's real.
Like, bro, it's real.
He's bringing it.
I said, wait a minute. We just saw him the year before. And it was like, okay, we got Roger. And then all of a sudden, the next time, I'm like, ooh, we got.
And they're blaming it on the mechanics, probably. Like, they changed his mechanics.
But he started throwing harder than he did in '86. He struck out 300 dudes.
We was like, okay. I'm like, oh, I was like, yeah. I'm like, so I gave that fastball, that wave to Omar.
Got something on it.
He got some juice. He got something to it. And Omar's like, wow. So I'm like, I got back to the dugout, because I'm leading off. I get back in the dugout. I'm like, Roger's bringing it now.
What happened?
That's serious. And I just kind of left it at that. In my head, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, last year he was. So all of a sudden
he was injured.
Yeah, maybe he was injured. But again, throughout the year, he was.
No, of course. Now you find out. My feeling is not to remember where you're on the story. Yeah. My problem is, I actually believe that at the end of the day, all of these dudes are going to get in.
No question.
And with the way that society is now, just society as a whole, I really feel like baseball more than any other sport is a barometer for society, because this is why the tolerance of baseball has become less and less, and why everybody involved at the commissioner level and whatnot are trying to make these tweaks, because society has become this instant gratification thing, and you're looking at games like basketball and football that have a constant spectacularism. And we're not building people. We're building a nation of magazine readers as opposed to a nation of book readers. And in that, I say that to mean we don't have a tolerance now. We have an overall attention deficiency where we don't have a tolerance to consistently wait for something to happen or recognize the beauty of nuance. Everything has to be on its face now. We keep it shallow.
I think you're giving them credit when you give them credit to read a full magazine. I don't even think that you can get through a full magazine nowadays. These kids nowadays, nobody wants to go through they want to skim over everything. Everything is skimmed through. It's no substance, all surface value.
And I'm not even necessarily holding it against the kids.
No, it's not just the kids.
Because no. I'm saying it's a whole society, but I'm saying I'm not holding it against the kids, because the kids are being instructed. And they're following examples. And there's so much information now. Just like there's so many TV shows. There's so many movies. There's so many podcasts. You literally could spend 24 hours a day consuming content now and still wouldn't make a dent in a quarter of it.
Yeah, it's true.
And so there's a societal change. And baseball has always been a game that you have to have the patience to understand. As a hitter, you have to I have to make him throw a strike. But you're not just going to serve me up. Not on purpose.
Yeah, but this is the problem now, because now baseball is trying to adjust to what
I agree.
People are clamoring. You're talking about a clock for the pitchers.
Ridiculous.
You're talking about them. I understand the umpires are messing up now, but they're implementing robots now. They're talking about in the Atlantic League. And, when you come to watch a baseball game, if you're a baseball fan, I'm not putting it on the clock. I understand when I watch a game that there's no timer.
And that's the beauty of the game.
Yeah.
Taking 10 minutes out of a baseball game isn't going to bring more fans. I'm confident of that.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I think people talk about the games are too long, and that's why sometimes when they feel like it's too long, they say, what makes a long game? A long game when the pitcher, so-called, is not throwing strikes.
Yeah.
So now they try to figure out, how do we make the game go quicker? We have to almost make the umpires call more strikes. And that's the issue, is that the quicker they kept it, when I was playing, the National League called more strikes than the American League.
Right.
That was with the Greg Maddux and Glavine.
Tom Glavine stretched the zone.
Whatever they stretched the zone. I mean, I was a thing to that where it came back, and when I was with the Braves in '97, it ended up being reversed. Now all the Braves team saw what it was like for when we played against the Marlins in that League Championship Series, to where Eric Gregg called the balls way off his plate.
Oh, goodness.
But again, that's what I felt. And talking to Barry Larkin, he's like, well, that's what we felt like all the time, facing the Braves staff.
Oh, no doubt.
So again, so that's
they didn't have to throw strikes.
Yeah, so that's
only
why
one else out there throwing strikes was John Smoltz.
Yeah, Smoltz.
And Smoltz had the kind of stuff that was like, you can hit it. Good luck.
But again, Maddox knew how to just paint that thing right off the
plate.
I mean, even though it was a ball, but it was close enough to where they say, if he's going to throw it that close, we'll give it to him. And then that's where the reputation of he threw it just right off. I mean, It was close.
But it still was a ball.
But again, the umpire, okay, that's close enough. And he consistently hit that. That was a smart thing. He consistently hit that spot.
That was his skill.
Yeah, he knew exactly what spot to hit, and he kept doing it.
Which is why we talk about all the time, because out here we grew up with WGN was one of the channels that we had.
Yeah.
And so I remember when Greg Maddux was a semi-bum. Yeah. Greg Maddux was not – he wasn't – I won't call him a full bum, but he wasn't somebody that was like –
when he first came up, he wasn't lights out.
Nah, you weren't going to watch Greg Maddux game.
He didn't have a two-seamer either.
Greg Maddux game had a great chance at Wrigley Field. And this was before they had lights.
Yeah.
The Greg Maddux Day game had a great chance of being a 6-2 game, or like a 8-4 game. It wasn't going to be a low-scoring game per se. And when he got out there to Atlanta, whatever Leo Mazzoni did with him and figuring out how to manipulate the umps, because Tom Glavine did it as well. Mm-hmm. Man, them dudes wreaked havoc.
Danny Nagel was over there as well.
Yep.
So they all just,
Steve Avery.
They just kind of stayed off the plate.
Your boy,
Charlie Lee Brandt.
Yeah, Charlie Lee Brandt.
Charlie Lee Brandt never threw strikes.
He never threw strikes. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But it's an interesting thing. We got a caller that wants to ask you a question. We put the word out that you were coming, and we got a first time caller, long time listener. He's left messages in the past, but we got Seattle Fudge coming in from Seattle. We told him you were going to be on. He's I think he got a bone to pick with you because he got a heartbreak. He got a heartbreak story.
Oh, no.
Hello.
Seattle Fudge live on the OZone.
There he is.
Omar. Icons. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
Good, yeah.
Okay. You got here. We have our special guest, several-time All-Star and several-time Gold Glove winner Kenny Lofton here.
He can go get it.
And I know that when we put the word out that Kenny was going to be on, you were at the top of the list of people that wanted to speak. Tell me. First of all, tell us your Kenny Lofton story, and then if you have a question for him, you can lay it on him.
My Kenny Lofton story is me as a 14-year-old kid watching Kenny Lofton score on a pass ball from second base in Game 6 of the ALCS. The man ruined my life.
Wow, don't say that.
Hey, I grew up as a Seattle baseball fan. We don't have that many highlights to draw from, okay? So, you remember those ones well.
Who threw the wild pitch?
No, he's a he.
Randy.
It was a pass ball. Randy Johnson. He knows.
He knows.
Act like
He's laughing at
he
you.
remembers that.
He's laughing at you,
laughing at
Seattle
you.
Fudge. They're all going to laugh at
I
you.
mean, 95 playoffs. I'm like, Randy Johnson. Okay, the Mariners got this game. Randy's throwing. Nope. Kenny Lofton goes and destroys my world that night. So. Oh, man.
Well, he's on the line,
Hey,
so
he
if you
was-
got any questions, lay it on
Hey,
us.
Kenny, I'll tell you, though, you were always the guy that when I watched those games, that you were the one of that crazy lineup that the Indian teams had that I feared. Because you got on base and you just ruined the other pitcher's night. So, I always had respect for your game.
Well, thank you. That's what that's what I tried to do. And just like I said, within the World Series, and David Justice said the same thing. He said they went into their meetings, and he said their meeting was about nobody else, but he said, how do we keep Lofton off the base? And I think so by you saying that's not something, that's something that a lot of other teams thought about. And David Justice told me right away, he said, Kenny, that was our meetings about. We said we had a 30-minute meeting, 20 minutes was about how do we figure out about you.
Wow.
So it was pretty funny for him to say
and
that.
that's respect in that lineup.
Yeah,
Are you
so-
crazy?
Sure is.
That lineup was
Yeah.
insane.
So
It was.
Well, they needed more than 20 minutes because nobody ever figured out what happened. So.
It wasn't time well spent, huh?
They needed to dedicate the whole 30.
No,
Oh, man.
Yeah, but my question, Kenny, is, with the way stats are looked at now, right, everything's getting analyzed differently. Your game stands out different, right, than it would have been when you first came up for the Hall. You think the Veterans Committee gives you a second look now?
I think I do. I think the Veterans Committee, because they're former players and they know, and I think the statute is when guys, they look at in your era. They say, were you effective or were you dominant in your era, in your position at that time? So I think they know it, and I think they will look at it. I think they would probably look at it different because, again, that word, the WAR, my WAR was, like I said, or whatever, all-time right now. I think it's 8th all-time center fielders, 4th center fielders.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, behind, Willie Mays and guys
And
like that,
Griffey and
Griffey or
yeah.
whatever, I was number 8, so on that list. So, I think they will look at certain things a little different, saying what I did in the outfield and what I did on the bases and what I did at the plate. It was I made people aware when I stepped on the field, it was going to be I can affect the game on offense and defense. And once I get on the base, I always told people when I got on the base, it wasn't the fact that I knew I was going to run. I just wanted the pitcher to figure out when is he going to run. So when they started to figure out when I'm going to run, they kept forgetting about where they wanted to throw their pitch at the plate, and they
A lot of guys benefited from
and
that.
a lot of guys benefit from me being on base and the pitcher trying to be aware of me. He didn't always hit his spot.
And
so
Manny, Joey, Tommy, all these Sandy, all these guys made them pay for that.
yeah, you had Tomei, you had Eddie, you had
Roberto.
yeah, with everybody out there. But again, like I said, guys benefited from me being on base, and also when you say all these guys that I play with had runs batted in. You can't run batted in if nobody's on base.
You see it now all day in the game all day.
So
now, Fudge, you had a very
especially-
interesting theory once that when you called and left a message and we had a technical difficulty, you had a very interesting theory about salaries and minimum, maximum salaries. Lay that on us. This is very interesting. Check this out.
Yeah, I just look at how much revenue baseball's bringing in right now, and the number of teams that are just keeping their payrolls low and tanking. They are just printing money right now, right? So people want to blame all the big market teams, but the small market teams are getting cuts on their money, revenue sharing. So they're all making money. What we should be talking about is how there should be a salary minimum for each team, not a salary cap, right? So if everybody had to take 50% of the revenue that they generate and put it into payroll, it will keep every team competitive. You won't have a Oakland A's situation where they have a $40 million payroll, but that's $220 million revenue situation going on. So to me, I think we got this backwards. And, so you have a situation where everybody looks at the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, right? Like, no, every team could be competitive with the way the revenue is being spread out right now.
Well, it's tough I hear what you're saying, and you make a lot of sense to that, but you got to look at it's two sides to it. It's like you have players who are requesting, trying to get money, and you have owners who can put out the money. So just say you have a guy who wants, just say $25 million a year, because that's what he deserves. The opportunity for him to get that money, he probably can't get it by going to Oakland. He can get it by going to New York. So you got to figure out, but the players have to figure out, because again, it will make it almost, you are taking an opportunity away from that player by putting it in the hands of the system. It shouldn't work that way.
I'm all for players getting paid.
But if you put the numbers up, you should have that choice to go where you want to go.
I agree with you completely. I'm for the players getting paid, right? Because by the time a guy hits free agency and gets his money, he's already earned that money. He's getting money he should have gotten paid younger, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm looking at it going, you've got, the Rays have a $35 million payroll, but they have a $240 million revenue. Now that's taking money out of the pockets of the players. And I go, you could have more teams that are spending money and not have these situations where you have 12 teams, 15 teams that are going to be out of the race by June this year because they're not even trying, right? And the owners are just bringing in the money because they're cutting their payroll.
But that's how the game goes. You can't tell an owner how to spend his money. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I know you can't right now.
But again, go ahead.
I'm just saying, I know you can't right now. There's no way. But if you're looking at collective bargaining down the road and how to get the players, we don't have a situation where star players are in the middle of spring training unsigned. You have a minimum. The players go, no, it's a minimum salary for each team because of the revenue base. It's actually closer to what you have in something like, the NBA, right? Where they don't have it set like that, but there are requirements based on how much money the teams make that has to be put back into the players.
It is that way. But the problem is that will be called a hard cap, salary cap. And that's the thing, is that either you're going to have a hard salary cap or you're not, because basically some teams know. So so basically they're saying you're being punished to go over the soft cap. Okay. Some teams are okay with that. That's why they still do it. They're saying that, if I go over the salary cap, I will just pay a certain percentage into the kitty for other teams. I'm okay with that. I'm knowing that if I pay this guy $25 million a year, $5 million of that, or $5 million I'm going to have to put into this kitty, I'm okay with that. But that money Kenny, doesn't that money go back to the other teams? It's supposed to. This is the way.
Right?
You're right. This is the way it's supposed to go back. It's supposed to go back into the team. So here's the kitty. Once you have that kitty, just say it's in the kitty, and you take $5 million out of that kitty, you're supposed to take that $5 million and go out and get a Adam Jones and give him that money.
Leave Adam Jones at the team.
Exactly. That's what you're supposed to do with that money. Again, it doesn't happen all the time. I'm not exactly sure, but just from my knowledge, I might be wrong, but you're supposed to take that $5 million and go out and get a Adam Jones and put that as part of his $5 million to help your team. That's what you're supposed to do.
And that's what I'm saying is that it doesn't seem like these small market teams have that money getting kicked back from the taxes from the teams spending a lot of money, but they're not spending that money. They're just keeping that money.
Right. It's like it's no incentive for them to get better.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
No, and they'll just say, "Oh, we're doing what the Astros did or whatever." Where look, that was lightning in a bottle. Like the run they made with some picks and everything. So
not necessarily. I mean, you saw the Royals do it a little bit
and
before.
they still have a monster,
and still have a monster team. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying. Well, Seattle Fudge, we appreciate you. We're still sorry about the heartbreak. Kenny seems to still revel in the fact that he ruined your childhood. He got a good laugh out of it. But thanks for calling in. We appreciate
all right,
you.
guys.
All right, now peace.
Thanks for having me. All right, fellas. Bye.
Yeah, for me, but this is where the analytics comes back to me. It's like they're holding the analytics is almost a way for them also not to pay people, because now with WAR,
I agree.
Because with that, a lot of guys, because there's no metrics that you can put on a guy's heart. You know what I'm saying? In a tough spot, you guys
game IQ.
Yeah, you always knew. I'm sure that on all the teams that you were on, a guy that wasn't a regular that you can pull off the bench that would come through in the clutch. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But the analytics wouldn't show that.
I mean, analytics doesn't show. It shows some, but it doesn't show a lot. I think there's a small percentage of the analytics you can go with. Other than that, I
very
look at
small percentage.
Exactly. I look at it as human error, because you can look at, if you go to analytics, right? You see a guy, and I must just say I'm a scout. I go out there and watch a player, and all of a sudden you get one guy, he get 10 at-bats, and he got 4 or 5 hits.
Right.
Okay? You got another guy who only got 2 hits out of his 10 at-bats. But if you look at the analytics on it, this guy, 3 out of the 5 hits that he got were broken bat singles with the ball, took a bat hop.
Texas Leaguers.
Right.
So, yeah, exactly. Took a bat hop or whatever. But on the stats, it's going to say he got 5 hits.
Right, that guy
But
did 500
then
today.
you got a guy who only got 2 hits.
Hitting seeds at everybody.
His seeds, 2 of them got through, and the other 6 of them,
Miraculous
bam,
plays.
or some guy went over the wall.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
ball,
crazy plays.
First dive, everything.
Exactly. He got a hit, but then you're going to look at those 2 players side by sides. Analytics, you're going to look at the stats.
That's all you're going to look
Say,
at.
wow, this guy got 5 hits. We want that guy.
Right.
And I'm going to be a scout. I'm like, no, I don't want that guy that got those 5 hits.
Guy might have been 2 for 10 with 3 ribeyes.
Right.
He might have got him
But
2 sack flies in that as well. Something to that effect.
But I'm looking at the way he got. So I always say you got to look at the guy's outs sometimes.
This is what we say.
Yeah.
Productive. I had a
Look at his
great
outs.
conversation at the stadium with Ron Say. We were talking about, and he was talking about how he tries to drill in these guys' heads. If you strike out 175 times, the conversation led to Rod Carew, and he was talking about how if you strike out 150 times, this is 150 non-productive outs. That if literally you just halved that, and you had 75 times you put the ball in play, how much more can happen with
Exactly.
those? And then we start talking about guys like a Rod Carew, Tony Gwynn, guys who strike out 30 times a year, maybe. Like guys who's like they're going to put the ball in play. Believe that.
And make somebody make a play.
I have to make you make, which is why we're so against the 4-finger free pass.
Yeah.
That's 8 throws. That's 8 throws.
This is why I'm against war too, though, because I feel like in your
What is it good for?
Absolutely
nothing. Say it again. Good God. War.
For you, in your case, I feel like war hurts you, because if I go and look at your numbers and read off the numbers, it shouldn't be like, wow, what's his war? I don't need to know what your war is.
I needed to see the body of work.
You stole 622 bases. You had 1,528 runs scored. A lifetime batting average of 299, which is unbelievable in itself.
Which is unbelievable in the major leagues.
And people don't even understand that. You had 2,428 hits. What else do they want? What is the criteria?
Let me tell you something. They don't even sleep. How about them sneaky bombs?
Yeah.
Sneaky bombs.
Got him 130.
130. 130 for a leadoff?
Come on, man, 130.
Are you crazy?
That's good money.
That's good money, Kenny.
I think that,
money.
because if people went back to the way, I know that it's like old school or whatever, but if they go back to the way that you guys used to play the game, if a team comes back like that, like the Astros actually
This is
did.
what the Astros did.
The
This
Astros
is what
actually
the
did
Royals
that.
did.
Exactly.
This is what, to a certain degree, this is what Boston did recently.
And the Giants.
And this is definitely what the Giants did.
And the
that
Giants.
Giants team was not supposed to beat the Tigers team.
The
that
Texas
was hitting-
Rangers, all of those
They
guys.
weren't all of those teams that they ran through. They had pitching, they had defense, and they put balls in play
Well, I always say small ball always can win in, especially in the playoffs.
when pitching gets tight.
When the pitching gets tight, you don't need, because again, how many times you going to see a dominant pitcher face a dominant hitter? Who's going to come out on top?
The pitcher.
The pitcher is
Right.
on a long bar hitter.
80% of the time.
And the reason why, and only that the 20%, like you're saying, is a mistake
Yes.
that pitcher threw that make this big guy, hit a home run.
Yep.
Okay, but other than that, he's going to strike him out.
Yep.
He's going to get him out because again, that's
The way that he wants to get him out.
The way he wants to get him, exactly.
And the thing about
Whether
it
he wants to
is,
strike him out and make him double up
Make
or
him
whatever
roll
it is,
over or
roll or
whatever.
whatever it is.
so what I always try to say when I got to the plate, I always say, okay, I knew what this guy was good at. Just like when people say, if you look at the stat, how did I crush Chuck Finley? Lefty, he had the
Chuck Finley
nasty.
was dirty.
Yeah.
He had so I'm glad you said that word. He had the dirtiest split finger.
Yeah, that was
Chuck
good.
Finley.
And
Man,
then-
we
and
grew
not
up out
that-
here.
and
Chuck
not-
Finley was in Anaheim dealing on fools
And not a
for
lot of
years.
lefties that had that split P.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for me, I looked at it as, what is his nasty pitch? Split
Right.
finger. So I'm telling myself, if it's that nasty, I
Don't
can't
even
hit
swing
it.
on it.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't hit it. So why swing at it?
Right.
And I see guys try to challenge and try to swing at a nasty pitch.
And watch fastballs go right down the middle.
I tell myself, I can't hit. Why swing at something that I can't hit?
That's his pitch.
That's his pitch. So I let it go. I tell myself, if you throw 3 nasty split fingers for a strike, I tip my hat.
Yeah, I'm going back to the dugout.
I tip my hat to you and walk back. And I see guys still try to hit the pitch. And if most guys' nasty pitch is not a strike.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I knew that going in against Chuck Finley.
Put
I'm
it in
like,
the dirt.
you're going to put this in the dirt. Once I see
Right.
any kind of little, because split finger comes in kind of like a knuckleball.
Yeah.
You can see the
Dance
steam
a little
and then
bit,
it dance
and
and
then it
drops.
dies. Yeah.
So I'm saying to myself, I see any kind of dance,
I'm off.
I'm letting it
staying
go.
off. Yeah.
I don't care. If it's a strike, I still probably can't hit it anyway.
Right.
So just tell myself right away, if you throwing a dance and nasty pitch, I'm not swinging. So all of a sudden he tries the nasty. Now
Now he's down 2-0.
Now the count is in my favor. So now he throws the fastball and bam, base hit the left field.
And he's in trouble.
Exactly. Now I'm on first.
Yeah, but what you've shown and what you just spoke about right now is an approach.
Why? Imagine.
These guys
Imagine a Major League Baseball player having an approach to an at bat.
There is no way that you can tell me that you can move everybody to one side of the field and you can't get a hit. I don't care.
It's so disrespectful.
I mean, I know that guys throw 100 miles an hour in the league all day long now and everything. Eventually, I will make contact, and I can hit a little dribbler that even if it didn't make it down to the third base bag, that I would be able to get on first.
Guys do not want to make an adjustment because you are not – see, what's going on in this game today, you are not getting paid to hit base hits.
No.
This game is telling all the players from the minor leagues all the way up, you're going to get paid to hit home runs.
To slug.
And that's what they try
Doubles
to
and
do.
bombs.
I have see one guy. I go out there and watch the Dodgers and watch Billingsley or Bellinger or whatever.
Bellinger. Oh,
Bellinger.
Don't even.
That's
Don't get me started. Don't even get me
So-
started.
I mean,
It looks bad sometimes, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean,
And the kid has.
that.
Here's the worst part about it.
has
I don't
5
even
tools.
fully blame it on this kid because I believe he doesn't have a lot of contact. I believe he has 4 tools. He has speed. He has plenty of pop. He actually plays decent defense. The problem with the defense is he's actually playing out of position. He's a first baseman.
They have him ranked now as one of the highest ranked defensive center fielders in
This is the
baseball.
most absurd. Yeah, exactly. Come
I
on,
just
man.
watched it on MLB Network. I was like, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding
They have
me?
him ranked as in the
This
top
guy's
10.
diving
In the top
for
10.
balls.
you would have seen him in the World Series.
We did.
All right, if
Yeah.
you I was in the front row. My man,
And watch the picture. The
How
picture's
about
like,
this?
oh my goodness.
In both World Series.
How
In
about that?
both
we were
World
talking
Series.
about it that one time. We were
Yeah.
about to sit there.
Like, are you
Remember
kidding
that.
me? This kid refuses. The guy pulls out a softball swing at a certain point because you've taken his confidence to a point, and hitters understand the number one thing you can take away from me is my confidence. If you take my confidence, I might as well not even have a bat up there,
Right.
to be honest.
Right.
And you saw it with him in the Astros series. The Astros are the first one because he came up, he hit the 37 bombs, took a minute for them to write a book on him in the show, and by September and October, they wrote the book, and all of a sudden, all he saw was pitches that were dancing. He didn't know what to do.
And then they threw
it
cheese
got
right
to
by
the
him.
point where they were throwing cheese right by him.
Well, the thing
He had
about
one
it-
game where he was successful, where he started to go the other way.
See, and that's the thing. You got to teach a guy that hit the ball the other way. And with Bellinger,
Bellinger,
right?
yep.
All you have to do to get him out, you just elevate the fastball.
Elevate the fastball and throw the
But
off
throw
speed
the off-speed,
low and away.
low and away.
Now,
And he refuses to adjust.
Now, speaking of that, this is another analytic thing which makes me sick because you watch them on the on deck circle. All of these guys are looking for launch angle.
They sure are.
They're on deck, uppercutting.
It's unbelievable.
And I'm thinking to myself like, wow, you don't think that the pitcher can tell that you're trying to uppercut the ball?
From Charlie Lau to Jackie Robinson to everybody else that's ever hit a lot of hits, everybody tells you to swing down on the ball and make the ball use science to have backspin and make the ball explode. Unless you're just a big giant guy like an Aaron Judge and doesn't matter what you do.
So I'm saying a pitcher to this day. I'm trying to think of his first name. His last name was Young.
Okay.
He was with San Diego, I think.
Chris Young.
Big
Chris.
Young.
Like
Big
6'10".
Chris.
6'10".
So
Yep.
Big Chris in today's game,
Oh, my
he
goodness.
will be dominant.
He would
And
be
he didn't throw
dominant
it
and
hard
didn't even
either.
throw hard.
But again, he knew how to elevate his fastball. That's all he did. He got people out.
Because he
like-
was 6'10". And it
Yeah.
also had a lot to do with his height.
And he had an elevated fastball. Into this game, with these guys swinging uppercut,
They can't get to it.
he would be a star in this game. And
Yeah.
he was decent. He was a good pitcher.
Actually,
he would have been a star.
I think
in
he
this-
actually had a renaissance late in his career, which is when the game started to really shift
Change a little bit.
in Kansas City, right? Isn't that
Well,
where he
Kansas
wrapped
City or
up?
Texas?
One of them, but he had a renaissance. Remember,
but-
because it was late, and all of a sudden it was like I remember calling you, being like, "Man, Chris Young is dealing nowadays."
Cause
Chris Young, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was kind of weird. 'Cause I'm like, to seeing him, I'm like, wow, he elevated and he was tough. Because I mean, when I faced him, I'm like, man, that elevated fastball a little tricky.
Yeah.
And it's right in your eyes too, huh?
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
swinging downward, but it still got tricky. I was able to still make contact, and a lot of times I swung at a ball
Exactly.
because that little thing elevated just a hair.
But if you
That's
can
enough.
tomahawk it, you can still get on it.
can get on
But
it,
if you're
but
trying to launch angle uppercut, you got no chance.
He will kill the
He
launch
killed
angle.
he kills a launch angle.
Today's game.
There's so many pitchers now. I mean, guys that already have stupid numbers. If they pitch now, if Pedro Martinez pitched now, Pedro
You
might
listen to John Smoltz talk about
You
it.
talk about you listen to John Smoltz in the booth.
Oh, he was smart. Yeah,
Man,
he
are
breaks
you
down
crazy?
everybody's swing.
Yeah, he
he
knew.
breaks down everybody's swing.
And Smoltz will tell you, he'll say, you know what? I'm gonna keep throwing it to you until you hit it.
I need to see.
Why
And
not?
if you
I
hit it
need
once,
to see.
I'm gonna see if you got
And hit it
lucky
again.
if you hit it again. That's what Smoltz would do to this game, guys today. He would say, you know what? I'm gonna consistently throw it up there and make an adjustment.
That's it.
He was talking about how to get Aaron Judge out. He was talking about busting him in and actually buzzing him under his chin a little bit.
No,
Because
that's against the rules now.
that's against the rules nowadays. We have to be,
I saw a thing where I know Barry in his situation of Smokes, but I was in a game where I was with San Francisco and we faced the Braves. So before the game, because I guess the day before, because the next day Smokes was pitching, so they're out in the outfield, whatever,
talking, whatever.
and talking trash, and
Yep.
Smokes told Barry, he's like, "I'm gonna come right at you," and Barry said, "Don't be doing that crap to me." Right? So the next day he came up, the first pitch, Smokes buzzed about 94, 95 at his chin.
Under his chin.
Boom. And he looked back and whatever, he stepped back, and the next pitch he tried to do it again, and Barry said, "Phew, out the ballpark."
Oh, wow.
It went out the ballpark like 3 seconds.
I mean, honest to God, I've never ever seen somebody hit the ball like Barry Bonds.
He
Like,
never misses pitch.
He
he
never.
does.
If there was a
And
period where he never missed his pitch for about 5 years.
So I'm sitting there next to Reggie Sanders on the bench. He's like,
Reggie Sanders.
wow, did you just see that? I was like, yeah, did you just see that? He buzzed him 94 underneath the chin, and then the ball came over the plate just slightly. Same,
He was trying to buzz him again,
but it didn't work.
but it didn't get in there.
And then Barry just took them hands like, whap, and it was, 2 seconds out the ball.
Wow.
Brad Penny told me one of my favorite baseball stories ever. He said his rookie year, it was him, Josh Beckett, and A.J. Burnett, and they threw gas. All three of them, them boys got it done, and they went to the World Series and won the World Series. He said they were playing San Francisco, and they had all just came up, and so they were all idolized Barry Bonds. And all three of them, they said just like that. He said they were pitching, they were all outside in the outfield watching Barry Bonds take BP, and then they all went into the bullpen, and they all said, "I'm getting Bonds. I'm striking Bonds out. I don't care what you guys talking about. Watch this." And they're all country boys, I do believe. They're like, "I'm getting Bonds. You watch me. I'm getting Bonds." Brad told me, literally back to back it's a 3-game series. He took Beckett deep. Then he took AJ deep. Then he took Brad deep. I think Brad said he might have got him twice. Brad was like, I've never seen anything like. He said, I'm telling you, I have never seen a hitter like this in my life. He said, you could not get this guy out. If he decided he was going deep, that was it.
Yeah, it was interesting just to watch, man.
Wow.
It was like, wow, this is
This is Android level. He's taking.
So who's the toughest pitcher you face?
I mean, people laugh at me, whatever, but the one guy who I just couldn't hit, and he didn't throw, that major was Eric Hansen.
Yeah, I remember.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I couldn't hit him, but the toughest pitcher, people think it was Randy, but I always tell people it was Al Leiter.
Really?
He threw a 94-mile-hour sinker and then a 94-hour cutter.
Sorry to
So
talk
I
it
was
up.
trying to figure out which one. So actually,
he stayed in the World Series.
So actually, I did a MLB show. I didn't know I had 3 triples off of him.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah, but again, I figured it out is that I got off the plate back. So I said,
Stop jamming yourself.
so I stopped jamming myself with the sinker because it was hard.
It break your.
It'd break your
back.
wrist. Yeah, break everything.
I feel like somebody threw a weight on your hand.
Yeah. So I told myself, again, that's me preparation, thinking
It's an
about
approach.
an approach how to get him, get off the plate and say, if it throws it inside, I don't swing. But if he throws it a little away, it's going to be the cutter.
Yeah.
So
Stay with it.
So I stay with it, and it was all my triples was to left center.
In
wow.
the, you got in that alley. You got the
Yeah,
front.
got in the alley. But again, I learned. I'm like,
Wow.
And again, he was tough because I'm like, man, that sinker is hard in.
Heavy.
Yeah, it was a heavy sinker, but then the cutter was, you can kind of see it out there, but a lot of people don't understand how to make the adjustments.
Of course.
And I just learned how to make adjustments. Already said, like I said, certain things you can't try to hit every pitcher's, all his pitches. You got to give it. You got to give your hat, tip your hat to certain pitches.
He's
that
in the
he
major
has.
leagues for a reason.
Exactly. But,
And Al Leiter has a bowling ball that he brings to the stadium every time
oh,
that he
man,
hits.
yeah, it was heavy, man. But
Yeah.
but I just figured it out. Just stand off the plate, and if he throws it too far away, I can't do nothing with it anyway. That's why I always told people, Randy Johnson was not as smart as a pitcher when he faced me.
Okay.
Dude, I was way in the back of the batter's box, away from him, away from the plate.
Right.
And he still wants to throw it inside. Dude, that's right down the middle for me.
Right. I've
You
made an
didn't go
adjustment.
away.
If he throws the ball on the outside corner, I had no chance.
Right.
But he didn't do
It's
that.
an ego thing at that point.
I guess so. I
Because
don't
he's
know.
committed to getting you out the way he want to
Well,
get
he
you
wanna
out.
get you out.
I'm Randy Johnson. I
get you
get
on
you
the
out.
inside.
I get people out on the inside.
He intimidated me by throwing at me, but I was like, "You gonna throw at me?" But again, you gonna, if you gonna throw at me, you better throw it 4 times at me because I'm gonna be on first base, and then 2 pitches later, I'm gonna be on third base.
Because you're going to have a problem.
That's up to you.
Your deliveries. You have no sidestep.
So either you gonna
Your
try to
slide
get me
step
out,
long.
you gonna try to get me out by throwing it on the outside, or you gonna try to get me out by throwing it inside. That's
Didn't make sense.
it didn't make any sense. But again, it showed, and I
You
And
did
you-
well
and
against
you
him.
broke-
huh?
did okay.
Broke Seattle Fudge's heart.
So it's all about making adjustments.
Nah, man. Well, let me tell you something. I really appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah.
I mean that. It's great. Like we said,
Yeah.
big fans of yours. And I told you that very first time I met you, I was pumped. I remember the first time I saw you, I came home, I told you, I was like, you never believe what I just played poker with. For real. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we're going to have another topic for you. We'll discuss the rest of the fights and discuss what happened with the fights. You know something I wanted to talk to you about was did either of you guys get a chance to read the article that just came out about Tim Donaghy's overall the ref that was fixing
I know
games?
Tim Donaghy is.
Tim Donaghy, they've actually done a more thorough investigation, and it is shocking. It's a
Really?
great article. If you get a chance, read this article. We'll talk about it in depth. It's going to require a long conversation.
Really?
Yeah, because basically what you come to find was Tim Donaghy was almost like the front man for a multi-million-dollar organization that he didn't even know that was making the kind of money off of him that they were making. It became a key point of the mafia's income strategy.
Wow.
Yes, we'll unpack that. We don't have time to get into it now, and then by then we should be able to discuss the Lakers, and everybody's really putting a lot of pressure on King James at this point. And
He didn't design that roster.
he's King James. You don't get the best to not make the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get them.
Obviously, you do.
But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Ozone with our special guest, Kenny Lofton. Kenny, tell the people where they can find you if they want to follow you.
Well, they can follow me. I'm on Twitter under, I think it's Kenny_Lofton7, and I'm on Facebook under my name, and I'm under Instagram. But again, I'm just doing my movies, right? People
you want to what do you want to talk about with the movies?
People can go out and buy my movie. It's on Amazon Prime Videos.
What's it called?
It's called Chokehold. It's a woman's underground MMA fighting movie.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty
Chokehold,
good.
ladies and gentlemen, Amazon Prime Video. If you have it, you can get on there and check it out. It's produced by Kenny Lofton. That's great, man.
Yeah. So
it just came out recently?
Yeah, it just came out. I had it in a few theaters. That's why I was in New York and
Okay.
ended up doing that interview, and it turned into be something else. But it was all about the movie Chokehold. We had it in a few theaters there. We had it in Chicago. We had it in Cleveland, Phoenix,
Nice.
Tucson. And now Amazon picked it up and they own it.
Fun traveling with movies?
It is, but it's a lot of work.
Oh, people have no idea. It's hard work.
It's a lot of work and trying to get people to come out and try to get the buzz. Right now, we're just trying to get the buzz on the movie that is out so it can go to that next level.
And the beautiful thing is that it's made. This is intellectual property. Once you have the film, it's there. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's yours. You own it, and it will be out. And whenever it catches traction and momentum, hopefully we can help to promote it here.
Yeah.
But whenever it catches traction and momentum, it's still there. It's beautiful. Beautiful. You got anything else to add?
That's it.
All right, folks. I'm your host, Omar Miller. This is the Ozone. I want to leave you with a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes. It is the province of knowledge to speak, and it is the privilege of wisdom to listen. We're going to sit here and do a little karaoke with Kenny on his Instagram page. This is the Ozone.
Ozone.
I'm just living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is